Hey guys, I'm Chris.
And I'm Andy.
And today we're going to be ranking all 11 live-action Star Wars films. With the release of The Rise of Skywalker, we wanted to go through and do this, so let's get right into it.
So we're going to be getting into spoilers with all 11 of these movies. I mean, they've been out forever and everybody's seen the Star Wars movies, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And we also do have very similar lists, even though we have some differences on our list, but we can get into that once we go through them. So coming in at number 11 is Solo, a Star Wars story directed by Ron Howard, and what a mess this movie is.
This is the most bland Star Wars film and extremely forgettable. The character of L3 is irritating, and I barely remember really anything that happened in this movie.
I hated whenever she was like, "Freedom to all droids," so bad. And Alden Ehrenreich, that's his name, as
Alden
Solo.
Ehrenreich, yeah.
Yeah, he's okay in the role. Donald Glover does some good stuff. Emilia Clarke also okay too. But overall, this is such a forgettable movie, and the villain, Woody Harrelson, was so predictable.
This movie should have never existed. Actually, talking about it right now is boring me.
It has like two good scenes, really. Only I would say the whole heist scene on the snow is good.
I guess.
And Darth Maul at the end. I thought it was cool to see him. But that little kid villain was so dumb. This movie's dumb.
We're moving on. So for number 10 and number 9, we have the same movies. They're just reversed. So my number 10 is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
And yeah, this is my number 9. It has some good in it, like we said. You guys can watch our review. We just released it, but it has some good in it, like some very good moments with Kylo Ren and Han Solo. But the bad is so bad.
Oh, it's a mess of a movie, and I will rewatch this eventually. Maybe my opinion will change, but it was extremely rushed and not a satisfying conclusion to the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, it's just disappointing that it all had to end like this. Like, I just prefer Return of the Jedi's ending so much more than this. It just is sad that this is the end of the Skywalker.
Yeah, but with that being said, I do really enjoy some moments. Like, there's a cool lightsaber duel, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, cool fight on the water.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is such a mess to me. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah, so coming in at number 9 for me is The Last Jedi, and that's your number 10, right?
Yeah, number 10 for me, Last Jedi. I really hate this movie. I really don't like it. It sucks.
So I'll be honest with you, I've seen it 4 times now, and I don't hate it with a passion, but I don't love it. I'm actually right in the middle. I think it's a little better than The Rise of Skywalker, because I think it's more rewatchable.
I just think what Rian Johnson does with this is he just gets all that great stuff from Force Awakens and just basically throws it out the window. Like, killing Snoke, making him like a little whiny little baby in the end. Rose is a horrible character, the worst Star Wars character. Like I said, it has nothing to do with her or her race. It's just her being annoying, and her in this movie is so cringy. Like, when she goes to that Canto Bite and she's like trying to rescue all the animals, and when she like saves Finn and kisses him, like in the dialogue that she says, I just hate Rose.
There's some atrocious dialogue in this movie, no denying that. And the Canto Bite sequence needed to be cut out of the movie. You cut that out, and I think that it's a lot better movie.
And all around, this movie has really bad dialogue. Like, it's just cringy. Like, Poe is a cringy cornball. Like, Laura Dern's character is horrible. Like, just the opening scene, like, whenever Hux is, like, being stupid and they're just, like, trying to, like, trick him. Like, I just did not like that. It was childish.
Yeah, there was a lot of childish humor. I do agree with that. But I really like the Luke and Rey training scenes when Luke's not being stupid, you know? Cause
yeah.
He was kind of... He was misunderstood
shoulder.
In this movie, I think.
Yeah,
but I really, like, towards the end of this movie, I'm on board. I love the throne room scene, and I really like the stuff on Crate at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Luke and Rey stuff. Actually, I wouldn't say I love it, but I do enjoy it the most out of this movie, and when Yoda shows up, too. But yeah, Luke and Rey have a good dynamic, and the whole stuff on the end with Crate was okay, but the stakes weren't high at all, and it just felt dumb to me. And the ending with Broom Kid, horrible ending. So coming in at number 8 is a controversial one. We know it, but we got to put it up here. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I did not like this movie.
It's just so forgettable. Like, I don't really care about the characters. There's no... like, the emotions are supposed to be high. I don't feel anything. The one great thing in this movie is Vader killing a bunch of rebels, and that's it.
Yeah, that's a 5 scene with Vader coming back at the end and Leia, like, saying, like, hope. I like that, all that. But the characters are the biggest problem of this movie. If you can't connect with the characters, you can't connect with the movie. And that's my biggest problem with this. None of the characters I liked at all. Like, maybe Diego Luna's and the robot K2SO, but... everybody else, like, I didn't care when they died.
I don't like the lead of this film, Jyn Erso. She's very... I couldn't get attached to her character at all, and that's an issue.
Yeah, it's dumb. This movie just tries too hard to service everything. Like, R2-D2 and C-3PO being in here did not need to happen. It's very just fan service. This movie is all fan service, and at the end it is cool with, like, the whole fighting whenever they're on the island and stuff. I do like that stuff. That kind of, like, brings the movie back up for me, but before all that, it's really boring.
Yeah, like, there's some cool battle moments at the end, but all the characters die in the end, so why does this movie even matter?
Yeah. Definitely the standout scene, like you said, is the Vader scene. And this movie overall is completely overhyped, I think.
Coming in at number 7 for both of us, another controversial pick for many, is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And this movie, no doubt, has some cringy dialogue with Padme and Anakin, and the acting is not top-notch, but the story is much more compelling than any of the sequel trilogy.
Yeah, and everybody does hate on the prequels, but one thing you can't say about them is that George Lucas had a very cohesive story planned in his head, and it does pan out in this movie. Seeing Jango Fett and Obi-Wan's tension in this movie, I like a lot.
That's some of the best stuff, Detective Obi-Wan, when he goes to Kamino, and then you get an awesome battle at the end on Geonosis with the clone army coming in to save the day.
And that's cool too, like seeing all of them come out. It is a little too much, like with the CGI at parts, but when Mace Windu comes out and kills Jango Fett, and then Yoda has that little battle at the end with Count Dooku, and Anakin gets his arm cut up, that stuff is cool, I thought.
Yeah, all of it is cool. I like Dooku as a villain, and like I said earlier, the story, it plays a role in Anakin's turn to the dark side. The scene where he goes and finds his mother Shmi dead, and he kills the Tusken Raiders, it's a stepping stone towards his eventual path to being Darth Vader, and it's great.
Yeah, honestly, that great scene whenever he goes back and protects his, saves his mother, even though she's already dead. That's a really good scene, I thought. But yeah, it does have some cringy stuff in it with Hayden Christensen. He's not the best actor, but overall, I thought this movie was a good stepping stone, getting us ready for Revenge of the Sith. So coming in at number 6, another controversial one, but who cares? The Phantom Menace, Episode 1. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, some people deem this as like an atrocity of a film, and it's the worst prequel. I ask you to just rewatch the movie because it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just rewatch it. I rewatched it too, and it is entertaining. Like, there's some dumb stuff in there with Jake Lloyd being little Annie, and how he, like, at the end, like, he gets the little co-pilot thing. Like, that's dumb, but Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn in this movie are some cool characters, I thought, and they have some great action.
Yeah, they do. The final duel with Darth Maul, with the Duel of the Fates score by John Williams, it's one of the top scores in all of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I like the final battle, but while we do enjoy that, there are some major flaws with the movie still.
Like the pod racing.
The Gungans, and Jar Jar Binks is one of the most annoying characters in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, he's not the most annoying, Rose is, but Jar Jar Binks is definitely up there and the most annoying. He's just stupid, of course. He's just like a clown, but overall, this movie, Phantom Menace, I think it sets up the groundwork for the prequels pretty good, and seeing Yoda in there was good too, and the, like, little hidden emperor, like, of course, it's the first stages of that. Like, I enjoy this movie a good bit.
Yeah, I do. In the middle sequence, I actually like the pod racing. I don't know how you feel about it, but
it's alright. Like, it's a little too much CGI. It, like, feels a little dumb, but it still works in the movie, I thought. And Natalie Portman, I thought, was good as Padme as well.
Yeah, she is. And I think the major issue with this movie is the political nonsense that doesn't really have a place in Star Wars and bores the audience.
Midichlorians.
Real quick before we give out our top 5, if you're still watching, please make sure to like this video and comment your ranking of the Star Wars movies down below. We'd really be interested to hear what you guys think. But coming in at number 5 is going to be Episode 7, The Force Awakens.
Yeah, and what a great stepping stone for the new trilogy, even though this trilogy did not pan out whatsoever. But this movie set the groundwork pretty good, and seeing the new characters blended with the old was really good.
Yeah, Han Solo and Chewie in this movie, I get chills still when I watch them enter the Millennium Falcon for the first time.
Yeah, of course, and starting this movie off with Kylo Ren, like how he blocks the little laser beam, something that we never saw him do again. He was such a cool villain in this movie, I thought.
Oh yeah, and I was emotionally attached to Rey throughout this movie. I really felt for her.
And I love her theme, too, that John Williams created for
Yeah,
this.
John Williams' score, great. Finn, pretty compelling character.
Finn, FN2187. It starts off great with him. I like that little storyline with him being a stormtrooper and Poe getting out there. Like, this is definitely my favorite of the new trilogy.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
The final duel on the Starkiller base with the lightsabers is awesome.
Yeah, and Han Solo's death, shocking moment, and also heartbreaking as well.
Very sad, yeah.
Even though it was spoiled for probably everybody in going into this movie. But yeah, Kylo Ren killing Han Solo, big moment, and then that whole final battle thing, whenever Rey gets the lightsaber, chills in that moment. I
still get chills when I watch it, and I still really enjoy this movie. It's in my top 5. The sequel trilogy just didn't pan out, sadly.
So coming in at number 4 is, to wrap up all the prequels, Revenge of the Sith. I love this movie, honestly.
It's easily the best prequel. I don't really see how you could choose the other two.
And it starts off so cool with Anakin and Obi-Wan getting in that little fight, and then as the movie goes on, you just see Anakin getting darker and darker and darker, and he kills the kids, and he kills Mace Windu, and he helps the Emperor, but all that stuff is so good to me.
I love seeing Anakin's turn to the dark side. While the acting and dialogue might not be the best, the execution of the story is perfect.
Yeah, and Execute Order 66, that's a great scene as well. The Emperor is pretty cool in this movie.
The score there is chilling.
Yeah, and like when Yoda like saves like the Chewbacca planet, like that's some good stuff. Yeah. I like seeing all that type of stuff. And then of course the final like 30 minutes on when Anakin and Obi-Wan have their whole drama on Mustafar and they have to fight it out. That is the best fight in Star Wars, I think.
I think I'd agree with you. The emotions are at an all-time high, and it's so intense.
It's heartbreaking at the end, like, Anakin, I had the high ground. Just a classic moment right there.
Yeah, it really is. This movie is a perfect conclusion to the prequel trilogy, and it shows that George Lucas had a plan for these prequel movies, and it paid off in the end. Getting into our top three, coming in at number 3 is Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. This movie is a blast.
Yeah, and you couldn't leave the originals out of the top 3, of course not. And this one, what a way to wrap up the trilogy. Like, going to Han to save Han from Jabba's palace, I thought was some great stuff, too. I love seeing them, like, rescue him and Boba Fett getting put in the Sarlacc pit. Classic.
Oh, yeah, and when Luke gets his new green lightsaber and shows it off for the first time, that's a chilling scene.
Yeah, for sure. And then as the movie goes on, they go to Endor, and the Ewoks are some cool characters, and they're funny.
I like the Ewoks. I don't care what anyone says. They're cool.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, like, as the movie gets on, Luke is getting seduced by the Emperor, and Vader is on the other side. I just like all that back and forth with Luke and Vader in this one. And, of course, it all comes to a head in this movie. And it wraps, and whenever they do meet, which we're not there yet, but whenever they do meet, that, like, final payoff is perfect.
Their duel, you're talking about Luke and Vader's duel?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's epic, and it's arguably my favorite. It's between this and the duel in Revenge of the Sith. They're both so good. The emotions are so high. I just love watching Luke wail on Vader, and then ultimately, throwing his lightsaber away, and the Emperor electrocutes him, and Vader saves the day. Anakin really was the chosen one in the end.
The ending of this movie, when they're all, like, having a little party on Endor and everything, the music, I just felt good.
Yeah, this is a perfect ending to the original trilogy, and the final shot of this movie would have been a great ending for the Skywalker saga.
So to round this list out, 1 and 2, we both had the same one. They're just reversed. So why don't we start with my number 2 first? A New Hope. Great start to this amazing trilogy, I thought.
Yeah, this is my number 1. I think this is the most fun Star Wars movie that exists. And ever since I was a kid, I've watched this movie over and over, and I've loved every scene.
It is a lot of fun, and it starts off great, too, with C-3PO and Leia and all of them on the ship, R2 coming in right from Rogue One. Good tie in there. And then, of course, they go down to Tatooine, seeing Luke being basic, doing his chores, like, I want to go do, blah, 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 like, whatever he says. And then Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, there's some good characters, too, I thought.
Yeah, they are, and that all leads into the finding of Ben Kenobi, a.k.a. Obi-Wan.
Yeah, and of course, Alec Guinness plays this role so good. One of the best actors in Star Wars, I thought. Him teaching Luke the ways of the Force and, like, C-3PO and R2-D2 being there in the background was some good stuff.
Oh, yeah, and then they go to Mos Eisley, and you get introduced to Han Solo, who's just a badass.
Yeah, and he shot first. This movie just flows at such a good pace. Every single scene is important and good, and Grand Moff, I thought he was a good villain as well.
He is, and of course Darth Vader, the big baddie of the Star Wars universe, is just an epic villain in this movie.
Yeah, I love him. He's so good. This might be his best movie. I mean, Empire might be my favorite of Vader, but in this movie, he's just such a badass, and just how he carries himself is so cool, too. He has such a good presence.
This movie just flows. It's so fast-paced, but not in a bad way. You're always hooked in and entertained, and while it might even peak in the second act with all the stuff on the Death Star, the final run to destroy the Death Star in the trenches is awesome. I think this is a perfect movie from beginning to end. But anyway, you're number 1.
And your number 2
Yep.
is going to be Empire Strike Back. The perfect Star Wars movie right there.
I'm not going to argue with that. It's like very hard for me to decide every now and then. I just like A New Hope a little more than Empire.
Yeah, I mean, I give Empire the edge just because so much happens in this movie. Hoth is my favorite Star Wars planet.
It's one of the best openings in a Star Wars movie. You're locked in from the beginning, and you feel like the rebels are really outmatched.
Yeah, for sure. And just seeing the AT-ATs and, like, Luke getting stuffed inside that animal was some good classic stuff, I thought. And then Han Solo, like, going out there and saving him.
Yeah,
like,
and then they go their separate ways. Luke goes to Dagobah to train with Yoda. That's some of the best content in the entire Star Wars saga.
It's just classic stuff. And I just love seeing Luke train and, like, going in the cave, like, seeing that thing of Vader and then the reflection of himself.
That's great. And then even the stuff with Leia and Han on the Millennium Falcon where they're in the asteroid.
Classic.
And they're starting just to build their romance. Those are really good scenes.
Yeah, I love Leia and Han in this movie. Their little theme, too, that plays over it is so classic. But their moments are so sweet, too. Like, obviously they have that bickering, but they just love each other, and I just love their relationship. And in this movie is definitely the peak of that, I thought.
It is, and it all concludes with "I love you, I know" as he gets put in the carbonite.
Yeah, on Cloud City, and Lando was a good introduction. I thought he was good, even though he was a traitor in this movie.
I like Lando. But in the end of the trilogy, I like him a lot more.
For sure. In that moment, whenever Vader and Boba Fett show up, we'd be honored for you to join us, and then Han just blasts at him. Like, from there on, the movie is peak right there. There's not a flaw in it.
And then a top 3 Star Wars duel is Vader versus Luke Part 1.
Yeah,
and that
that's
culminates with "No, I am your father," one of the greatest twists in movie history.
Yeah, I love that moment when they're out there on the balcony of Bespin. It's just so intense, and Luke's just hanging on for his life. Like, Obi-Wan told me the truth, blah, 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 and search your feelings. Just such a good dialogue in that moment, and then Luke just lets go, like, basically committed suicide right there. He didn't know he was going to be down there. But that was just that I think is the perfect scene, the best scene in Star Wars.
So that's a wrap for our ranking of all 11 Star Wars movies. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember, it's our favorite. It's not set in stone. It's just our personal opinion. So be sure to like this video, comment your ranking of all the movies down below, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. We've got a lot of videos coming at the end of the month. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
See you guys.